Coming up on AI in the Classroom, ways AI can help you serve all students. Hi, my name is Guy Trainin. I'm a professor at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and today I want to talk about ways AI can help you serve all students. And I want to start with one of my favorite things, which is voice mode. One of the things that the different AI chatbots have, almost all of them, is a voice mode, which means you can talk to it and it will talk back, which prevents or helps with interactions for students who may not be able to type for physical reasons or because of visual reasons or just because they can't type yet. And so what you can do is you activate voice mode and then you say, hi.
Hi, I heard that loud and clear. It's always good to have a quick sound check. Let me know if everything's working fine on your end.
Yes, it is. Can you tell me some things about what Pakistan is facing today?
Pakistan is dealing with a mix of challenges now. There's been a recent security incident in Balochistan where gunmen attacked a passenger bus. On the political side, Imran Khan's ex-wife has launched a new political party, which is pretty interesting. And on the economic front, the UK has lifted a ban on Pakistani airlines, which is a bit of good news for their aviation industry. Lots going on over there.
Can you tell me something about education in Pakistan? And can you do that at the high school level, please?
In Pakistan, high school is basically split into two main phases, grades 9 and 10, where students work towards their matriculation exams, and then grades 11 and 12, where they prepare for their intermediate exams. They can choose different streams like pre-medical, pre-engineering, humanities, computer science, and commerce. It's a pretty structured system, and each path kind of sets the stage for what they might study in university.
Okay, so you can see how voice mode works. It speaks in a very casual voice. It's very conversational, which invites a response and is not very mechanical like the voices we used to have. And what I love about it is, unlike Siri, who's not really my friend, or a few other of the voice agents that we had before, this seems to be working rather smoothly and will respond. It has its thinking time, but then responds very smoothly in a conversational tone that is easy to accept and to ask follow-up questions. And he doesn't ask you, did you say banana, when you actually talked about Pakistan and all kinds of things that happen to me on a regular basis with the old ones. So this is one way to do it. The second thing is, we were recently, for example, asked to update all of our instructional materials to make sure that they conform to all the needs that are defined by law to support students with disabilities, including, for example, to create alternative texts. So alternative texts are texts that are attached to graphics that are included in presentations or any kind of instructional materials, and they help explain what's in the picture for somebody who's actually using a voice to read the text. Because they have a visual challenge, they cannot see the graphic, they cannot interpret it. So now you have to create alternative text. Now, I can sit and create alternative text for every graphic I have. But if I'm fairly graphic heavy, that task becomes quite onerous. However, if you do have an AI, you can quickly bring in a visual. And I'm going to bring a visual from my records right now. I'm asking, can you provide alternative text for this picture? You can see that the alt text says, a woman wearing glasses and a winter coat is sitting in a classroom smiling at the camera while holding a tablet. This is very accurate. This is a way to get that done fairly quickly. You just copy that, paste it. You, of course, check for accuracy because we do remember that AI hallucinates all the time, adds details or tries to complete the picture even if it's not there. So you got to read it for detail. But this is an easy way to create alt text and reduce the load from your need, or as some people have responded, started reducing the graphics that they use, which is actually not good for students. Students need this multimodal delivery, We don't want to do away with it, but we want to comply with the law, but also to provide the service so everybody can learn. And that's an easy way to use an AI chatbot. The third thing that I want to talk about is exactly the opposite. And that is what AI can do is add pictures to our presentations, to our instructional materials that we create ourselves. Sometimes we can just use pictures that are available, and that's fine. You don't have to recreate something that you can easily get from a Wikimedia, for example. It exists. It doesn't need to be recreated. It doesn't need to spend that energy. But if there's something you need that you don't have available to you, AI is very good at creating images fairly quickly and to very specific criteria. And that way you can use that in your instructional materials without worrying about copyright, without worrying about all the challenges that we have. So that's a way to use AI. And for example, if I'm teaching English and I'm thinking about the act of kicking a ball, create picture of a child kicking a red ball. And so in this case, ChatGPT, I like ChatGPT for picture production. They've done quite a bit of work and it seems to be doing a good job. It does take a little bit of time and we become impatient. But again, if you can find this anywhere else, please, and without copyright complications, please find it. But if you can't, you can use this very effectively, and especially if you're preparing a lesson about specific vocabulary that you want to show, to create vocabulary cards and things like that, this may be a very usable option, and we've shown it in previous times. All right, so we created a picture, and again, you can make it realistic or you can tell it to create it in a different style or in a cartoon style. So this is a way to think about this. Next, I'd like to talk about the last way that we can make our classroom more accessible to all students, and that is translation. One of the challenges that we have is that sometimes our students, often their families, are not as proficient in English. And one of the ways we can help alleviate that problem is by translating materials to their home language. And with kids, we want to make sure that they retain their home language, but also learn English. But with parents, we really have very little control. They may be very busy. They may be working very hard. Their progress in English is going to be slower. So being able to deliver, for example, the messages from the classroom or a weekly newsletter or whatever it may be, it will really be helpful to serve it in different languages. And AI can often do that. Now, the advantage is it can do that at a good level. It is not excellent. So you always need somebody who has knowledge of that language to look it over and make sure you didn't make a significant mistake, or really not you, but the AI. So you need somebody to look it over. But there's a huge difference between saying to somebody, for example, who knows Spanish, look it over and see that it's okay, versus take this 3-page thing and translate it yourself, right? These are two very different tasks and they take very, very different speeds. So you can use the human resources that you still need to use, but it'll take a fraction of the time because you have access to AI. So today on AI in the classroom, we talked about a few ways that we can use AI to make sure we serve all students. And we talked about using voice mode to overcome the difficulty of typing, movement difficulties, or even vision problems. We talked about creating alt text to make sure that all people have access to our graphic material. We talked about creating pictures to explain vocabulary, especially for English learners or any language learner, really. It doesn't matter where they are. And finally, help in translating materials so they become more accessible to people who are still learning English. And I'll see you next time on AI in the Classroom.